We all know as a practice owner, one of the last things you want to think about is tax planning and strategizing for your practice. In addition, the long list of tasks on your radar, it's really hard to do everything. You have to find a trustworthy team of experts that understands the unique and specific needs within veterinary medicine. My suggestion would be my friends at Granite Peak Associates. Granite Peak is an advanced tax planning and veterinary practice advisory firm who has spent many years working within vet med. Their team works year-round to make sure you're able to maximize your profitability while also minimizing your liabilities. Whether you're in the process of purchasing a practice, looking to grow your practice, or transitioning towards the sale of your practice, they are the experts to help guide you through. What makes them different than other firms is their devotion to proactive tax planning. By thinking into the future and creating long-lasting relationships with their clients, Granite Peak can help minimize the amount of taxes paid over the course of many years to come. Head over to their website, granitepeakcpa.com, to receive a personalized comparison of your practice financials against over 140 other hospitals that they've worked with. You'll be able to see how your practice ranks, where you stack up, and where the opportunities are to get better. From there, you can schedule a one-on-one call with one of the members of their team to review and analyze your results. The opportunity speaks for itself. You need someone on your side. Granite Peak Associates is that team. Take advantage of their innovative expertise within the veterinary industry. Have you ever walked into a space and thought, wow, this place is beautiful? There's a reason for that. Architecture has this innate ability to impact emotions and perceptions. My friends at Apex Design Build bring beautiful and functional spaces for veterinarians nationwide. Apex is a fourth-generation family-run company that is fully integrated from the design, architecture, and construction process. They help you mitigate risk, eliminate surprises, save time, save money, and reduce your efforts. Sounds great. Check out their amazing work and have access to their square footage calculator to help you plan out your expansion or new build. Click the link in the show notes for the exclusive offer and learn more about Apex Design Build. Discover the nation's fastest growing practice management software. Who, you might ask? It's my friends at Shepherd Veterinary Software. Founded by a practicing veterinarian, Shepherd is easy to learn and works the way you work. Shepherd automatically updates the medical records, adds services to the invoice, generates discard instructions, and so much more. It's time to bring home more stories and less stress. Learn more today at www.shepherd.vet. Finding a job or finding a veterinarian shouldn't be a waste of time. Enter an Offer First. Paul Diaz and team have created something really special with Offer First. Some of my favorite reasons are as follows. Candidates and employers will both have values aligned on the first step, not the last. The sign-up process, quick and simple, no resume required. So if you're looking for a job but you aren't really sure, it's as easy as scrolling on Zillow for a home. And finally, if you have a great match, it's based on your each unique requirements, not random keywords. If you want to learn more, listen to episode 179 with Paul Diaz. We cover all of that. The other exclusive great thing that you're going to get from this ad read and from Paul is I convinced him to give an exclusive discount to listeners of this podcast. So for owners, you're getting a 20% discount on both the placement of any candidate, but also access to the platform. Use VSP if you go to Offer First, or the easiest way is a link in the show notes. So check it out. Associates, those looking for a job, same thing. Use the link in the show notes. Use VSP if you go directly to Offer First. But I will donate and Paul will donate to a veterinary nonprofit of your choosing. So each person that signs up gets a vote. Your votes actually count, which is incredible. And so I'll be reaching out. I will handle that. But there's going to be a donation made for any associate or any job seeker that adds on the platform. We want to make sure that not only does the platform help to make sure that you find a better fit, better culture, better role, but it's also doing good in veterinary medicine. Okay, so link in the show notes is going to take you to Offer First. It's going to automatically apply that, but also use code VSP if you go to Offer First directly. And Offer First is changing the game of veterinary recruiting. I want each and every one of you to benefit from it, so check them out today. All right, today I'm joined by Ryan Whitley, who is the Vice President of Business Development at RWE Design Build. RWE, for those that don't know, is the #1 animal health builder in the U.S. They've done over 400 projects, which blew my mind when I read that for the first time. And they've won some DVM 360 awards as well for Hospital Design of the Year. And they've been in business for, I think, over 25 years now. And Ryan, you had worked a little bit with RWE, joined them almost 2 years ago, and you've consulted on a bunch of stuff and really wanted to bring you on and chat through some of the things that you all are doing, but also with the amount of work that you do in the space, dig into what RWE sees out in the world. But Ryan, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so I want to ask a little bit about kind of your role and the things that you're doing and seeing today. But before we do that, RWE as a whole, for those that maybe don't know, big picture, and then I'll put you on the spot and say what's a couple things that you really appreciate it about RWE now that you're there versus when you kind of worked with them as a partner in a previous life.
Yeah, so yeah, you mentioned it, right? Like, so I've been with RWE for, not that long, probably a little over a year now. But I've worked with RWE and known the folks within the organization for 13, 14 years. So like most of my professional career has been with a company called Midmark, who, pretty much everybody knows now, didn't know before, but now they are the name in equipment for veterinary clinics, and for good reason. It's an awesome company, awesome support, and there weren't many opportunities that I would have left them for. So very appreciative of those guys, but RWE was one of them. I worked with them a long time, specifically in the Chicago market, which is where I was located for a long time. If you were doing a veterinary clinic, you were typically working with RWE, typically on a referral basis, right? Which is the best way to get leads, is from a referral of a happy customer. And everybody in Chicago was building with RWE, right? So I made friends with those guys and just quickly realized why everybody was. So they're just one of the few organizations within the country that really plants the flag in animal care, right? And what I've learned over the years, because I grew up in it, right? I worked in a veterinary clinic, went to school, tried to get right back into the industry after I graduated college. It's just like, it's a big, small community, right? Like it's a big industry, right? A big group of folks. But you see a lot of familiar names, and people just like dealing with, other animal people. It tends to happen. So, yeah, it's just, RWE from what I knew before was really good at designing and building clinics. And now on this side of it, I still believe they're really good at designing and building clinics. And there's just a certain style about it, right? Like, so, we've been doing it for forever. When I say forever, I guess I mean, 25 years in business, but like the foundational material, and reasonings behind like how to build a clinic, why you're building a clinic, why you design it in a certain way, have changed and evolved as our industry changes and evolves. And, it's great.
What is so you talked about RWE being in Chicagoland area. You guys have expanded some, but we were just talking before we hit record. Some of the awesome opportunities because you are well known, but also some of the challenges of folks that say, "Hey, Ryan, can you help me here?" And maybe I'm not in your Chicagoland area. Like, where does RWE today work and support clients at?
My internet connection might be bugging out on me a little bit here, but I think what you're asking is just what parts of the country are we able to service, and kind of what makes that a good idea versus a bad idea, what we were talking about before, which just talking about like the community itself, right, and like kind of how RWE grew up in the Chicagoland area and really made a name on being able to manipulate themselves to service both new clinics that are more like starter clinics, smaller clinics, leased situations, versus some of the bigger ground up facilities or just larger facilities in general. So like there's a lot of different, types of facilities that we could work with in the Chicago area. And then, as we kind of broaden our footprint and start to work more on a national level, even though we want to continue to service all levels of animal care, and we continue to do that in anywhere that it makes sense, it's just kind of understanding from a strategic perspective where that makes the most sense, right? To make sure that it's a good situation for the customer as much as it is for us. We don't ever want to, us traveling anywhere, we don't want that to put, any type of, issues on a customer's budget. So we want to help everybody, and we will. We're happy to share knowledge, but ultimately we may not be the best solution for everybody everywhere. And that's okay. We'll help where we can. We'll have conversations. We'll share information. And then when there's a good mutual fit, then we'll definitely, do our best in that situation.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And you had shared with me that you guys have definitely expanded a little bit more into the Southeast, which is, exciting to hear and to see as well. But you look at the amount of projects that RWE has done over the years, and you look at, you learn a lot the first 10 you do, the first 20 you do, the first 50 you do, like from a pitfall, these are the areas where a veterinarian might do a project once or twice in their entire career. You guys are doing that on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. What are the areas that you see people getting either stuck on, maybe getting trapped into and thinking like, hey, they have to do it this way? What kind of pitfalls were kind of from that consultative piece of things does RWE help with?
Yeah, I would tell like the overall answer, I think, to that, and the most important thing is that experience matters, right? And you can relate that to anything, right? You can relate it to your own life, whether it's parenting, a veterinarian's life, right? Their first time doing a certain procedure or working on a certain type of animal, right? Like, it's not that you can't do it. It's that you haven't done it before or you haven't done it a lot, right? And then you just get better with time, experience, right? So I think that's the biggest takeaway is just understanding the importance of experience in this industry. And I'm not just talking about us, right? Like whether it's, anybody, consultants, architect services, design build like ourselves, like anybody who's done this before is going to be able to share or give the extra value of not only their own successes, but also their own failures, right? Like we did try that before. It didn't turn out like we thought, unfortunately, right? So, and then there's a fixed process, right? So ultimately, the more knowledge you have on the upfront to kind of help avoid certain things, that's a huge benefit to everyone, right? So I feel like everybody else, whether you're, a consumer, right? The first thing you're looking at is, hey, like, price versus quality versus whatever it is, the certain tech that you're looking for, the certain niche for that specific product. I would say that is a potential pitfall to make sure you're aware of like what you're getting for a certain cost, right? Because there's a lot of different versions of providing a service, right? When it comes to construction, architecture, right? What's your cost per square foot? It's kind of a tricky question, right? Because different folks could put different things into that cost per square foot, right? Design has a lot to do with cost per square foot. So if I'm designing to a certain degree that is specifically for a durable, cost-effective, efficient veterinary clinic, that cost per square foot is going to be different than somebody who's doing more generic commercial build or design where, that may include retail spaces, that may include office spaces, right? And there's definitely different levels of plumbing, HVAC, electrical, not just design of walls and choices of flooring and finishes and things like that go into those numbers. So, and it's not that anybody's trying to fool anybody. It's either maybe they haven't done it before or they just have a different program, right? Like you give an example of kind of like residential neighborhoods where you drive past one, you're like, houses in the 400s, whatever it is, right? And you're like, oh, 400, that's in my range. Love that, right? And then you go through the process and understand that, oh, that didn't include the lot, right? That didn't include anything inside yet, right? All these things. And all of a sudden you're at 800,000. You're like, whoa. If I had known that from the beginning, we wouldn't have went down this road versus, at least our own, viewpoint on that is when we give a cost per square foot or we're advising somebody or telling somebody kind of like what it looks like right now, we give them that kind of like what we built for, right? Like at the end of a project, a recent project, like this is what a similar project like yours we built a year ago cost per square foot, right? It's built to a certain degree. This is what that costs. And to us, not that there's not going to be changes or surprises or whatever, but, there's a certain comfort in that, like knowing like, hey, like, even though maybe it's a little higher or whatever than you expected, like this is reality. Like there's no up or down or games or, change orders involved. Like this is kind of where we expect you to be. And that's based on hundreds of projects over the last, 25 years.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes sense, right? I don't think most people want to play games where it's like, can you just give me like what it actually is and give me a way to compare apples to apples? But when you've not done it before, it's really easy to hear like, well, shoot, that price is way higher. The question should always be like, why? If something seems so far out of whack, like there's probably a reason for it because then the other company would never be in business. So they're probably not going to be able to have some innovative way to do it.
Yeah, it's like we talk about this too, right? It's the same type of thing I just said, just a different kind of way of saying it. But it's like, it's not that we cost more, right? Like for me to travel to a certain area would potentially cost a little bit more if I have to send an RWE employee to travel somewhere versus somebody who's local. But, things being equal, right? Like it doesn't cost me more as a veterinary specific or an animal care specific design builder than a general contractor in the same area. Um, the thing is I'm probably designing it to a different level, right? We're probably making different choices to give you that number. And that cost per square foot doesn't necessarily mean like savings, right? Because we've done it before, we may be able to be more efficient in the process because we're not having to guess or figure out how we're plumbing for kennel systems or oxygen or, electrical systems for some specialty equipment, right? We're not learning that on the fly. So hopefully, we can make up for any travel fees or anything like that by being more efficient, with the experience level that we have in the industry.
Yeah. So Ryan, I'm Ryan. I have the knowledge that I have working for RWE, seeing tons of these projects. Now flip that around and saying, hey, your best friend's a veterinarian. What would be the one or two questions if they're going to go out and evaluate, you know, builders, design, any of that stuff in their marketplace? And RWE couldn't be a part of that. What questions would you kind of prep them to be like, get these things out there, ask these questions to get a little deeper? Because one of the things when you're not as familiar with a topic, you can't ask the really detailed, deep questions that maybe gets you the answers because you just don't know what you don't know.
Correct. Right. Yeah. So I would ask like for, references and examples, right? Like, give me some examples of what this is, right? Like ask the great questions. There's some general questions like cost per square foot, right? Length of time process. But, I would go deeper, right? And like ask to talk to folks, right? To verify time frames. Did they stay on budget? And then hopefully there's a local example or, a way to show them a facility and how that went, right? Like, that's the big thing is just, again, going back to that experience question, do you have experience? And then kind of verifying the results, and factuality of how that went. That would be a big thing for me. And what I tell people all the time is talk to multiple people, right? When I talk to people about what we do, right? I will hope, like, go talk to somebody else, talk to 2, 3, 4 folks, right? Different people do things different ways. Ultimately you'll probably get, a result that's favorable. There's a lot of good people in our industry, whether it's design folks, design build folks, equipment folks. So ultimately, like, somebody's great, might not be great for that person. And this person's great might be great for that person. So ultimately it's about fit, right? So style, personalities, process, talk to multiple people and just kind of figure out what the best fit is for you.
Yeah, and you can get a lot, and I know it seems very frou-frou, but you can get a lot off of like vibes of like how you work together with people. And again, you can get that a little bit where, maybe there's a front in person, but it's like, who are you actually going to work with through that project? Who is on that team that's going to be your point of contact to go to, and you can get a good feel for that. Let's talk a little bit about remodels versus expansion. And you have someone that comes to you and say, hey, this is my situation, this is my option. Like, how do you kind of help understand what's the right direction to take the next step? Is it doing a complete just remodel? Is it adding more space, or should they be looking for a new location altogether? Like, are there times where someone comes to you with, hey, I think I want to do one thing, and they're like, oh, actually I don't, I should do this other thing, after having a conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, what do we do to start off here, right? Like, maybe somebody did it one way, somebody did it the other way. And that might change, right? Like, banks right now, interest rates, money's more expensive right now, right? Like, and what you can build is more limited, right? Your ability to earn more revenue might not be at the same level as inflation. So you have to be more conscious about that. So, it's really about the end goal for you, right? Like, so, and there's different scenarios that could unfold that could provide different, paths, right? So like if you're an existing facility, it's like, what do I do? Do I remodel? Do I do an addition? Do I go look for a new space? Do I do a ground up development? And there's pluses and minuses probably to all that, right? If your existing space, you have options, maybe it's just a bad design. Maybe there's a little bit of an addition there. Like, that potentially could be your best from an overall cost perspective. However, like, you're probably going to want to stay open while that's going on, right? So it's going to elongate the process of build. It's probably going to be a little more difficult to stay open. Not that it can't happen, but phasing a project and keeping somebody open does, add some different hurdles to the prospect, and then just, elongates the process because you're not able to do everything at the same time. So there's that piece of it. acquiring a building or buying a building and then remodeling it, that could be an attractive option if it checks the boxes for you, because probably like, certain, build products or standards, right? To do that same, to achieve that same level is going to be more expensive now than to buy that building. So if that building can check some boxes for you, and then you can just go in and remodel it, whilst keeping your other facility open or doing whatever you're doing currently, that can be a great option. Or ultimately, if you can't find that, right? And ultimately, like the most customizable option is to build new, right? You can create the box, you can design everything. So, it is designed specifically for what you want. But that process is longer too, as far as developing plans, the build process. So that's just going to be a longer process, and maybe be a little bit more expensive in regards to, having to actually go through the process of land development and building structure.
So, Ryan, question on the, you have an experienced veterinarian or you have someone that's owned, maybe they've acquired a practice and they're kind of looking at this, do you build the Taj Mahal, this kind of forever clinic? Do you look at it more from a 5 to 10 year range? Maybe I'm a little older. I've had some success, but I know I need a new building, or some major renovations. How do you, as RWE, help like them visualize and understand the difference in the projects? Think about what's the return they can get on it. And I can think of one example, and I think it was a project that you all actually did for a doctor that they ran out of space. They needed and wanted more doctors in their practice. And for them, it's a huge return because they can actually hire and grow so that it's going to make it more profitable in the future. So how do you kind of walk through a veterinarian or a team of veterinarians or this ownership group on how to think about the next stage of their growth with their building?
Yeah, so it's again, it's all about, design and maybe some choices that they make, but like, looking at, what their current situation is, and then maybe what their long-term plan is as far as, growth goes, right? It could be from like how they practice, it could be how many doctors they have. So looking at it from a design perspective, like, what do they have now, right? And or is it maxed out, or could you provide some more efficiencies just from a redesign? Can you look at an addition, something like that? Or is it possibly something where you're looking at, a new space, and in that situation, right, whether it's, different people have to make different choices. But if I'm looking at it, like, I'm looking at, a temporary space, I'm probably designing that from a spec, right, to a different level, like the finishings, things like that, different materials. If I plan on being there in the short term versus the long term than I would if this is my, forever home, right, or forever clinic that I'm expanding to. So I'm probably going to make some different choices in just the materials and things like that. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean go cheap, because there's different products on the market that I think can serve both purposes, that can provide you good value and then also transfer, and be reissued in a new facility. One example of that would be my former employer makes a really good line of industry-specific cabinetry and tables, synthesis casework, where it is more expensive. However, it doesn't provide better value, right? So like, this is a product where you can put it into a temporary facility. It's veterinary specific, it's durable, it's going to last forever. And then it's also modular. So even if the situation changes and they want to go to a different facility or reorganize it, that's the type of product that they're getting good value on in use right now. Then they can go reuse it, reorganize it, redesign it in a new facility. So, it goes in different ways in regards to your own situation. So I think that's where it also goes back to experience, right? Working with folks, not just design and build, but also like financial folks, talking to a financial person, really diving into the books and understanding like, where am I making money? Am I losing money somewhere? Because sometimes perception of services and what's doing well for you is not actually reality. So, getting a good team around you that's veterinary specific to really do a full on evaluation of, your goals and where you're currently at and what are going to be the best choices for you moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. What again, you have an interesting seat and have lots of conversations. Is there any unique trends, adjustments, things that are different as people are looking at remodels, new builds that weren't like that, in years past? And I know, again, your experience there is maybe not as long as RWE in general, but are you guys seeing bigger shifts, bigger changes in what people are asking for?
I think you're trying to do more with less. Just with we talked about this a little bit, right? Like the cost of money these days, it's more expensive. So budgets may be smaller, right? So you're trying to maximize, the use of your dollars. Not that we ever weren't, but just obviously it's very important right now to do that. So again, going back to kind of focusing on what's going to make you successful, right? So really honing in on the design part of it. And I think the trend continues to focus on maximizing exam rooms, maximizing treatment areas, procedural areas, and then kind of building the rest of your design around that. So I think that's kind of where we're headed right now, just to be really efficient, right? They say that, the animal health industry in general kind of follows like human medical, human dental, right? And, I wouldn't necessarily put complete parallels there, but there is something to that, right? As we get more advanced, we get better, we focus on how we can be more efficient and, deliver better care while being profitable.
What's something I haven't asked about yet that's on your kind of heart or mind when it comes to veterinary medicine? It can be something, that's RWE specific. It can be something that's different just from conversations. Anything top of mind for you?
I would say just like the industry in general, right? Is we talked about this a little bit before, like it's, as a person who grew up an animal person, right? The kid bringing home anything it could find and asking their parents to keep it. It's just really cool to see where our industry has come, like how strong it is, right? Through the whole, COVID situation, the amount of interest that's coming into our industry from people who weren't involved in it before. So, and then just the people that continue to make it better, right? So like we go to a lot of shows, whether they're local shows, national shows, and you just keep kind of broadening your network of different folks that you meet, people like you, people within the insurance game, people that are focused on finances, veterinary consultants who are trying to help other veterinarians become better business people. All these different people just trying to elevate the industry as a whole and really focus on the people, the industry, why we do what we do. And to me, it just feels good, right? Not to be corny, but it just feels good to see, other people doing well, other people working together to make an industry better, and really just liking the people you're working around, right? Like, if you do what you love, right? You're gonna be all right, right? Like, we talked about like the focus on not everybody's in this industry, to make money, right? They're in this industry because they like animals, they like the people that they're working with. So that's what I've seen, right? Like as we're getting bigger, we're not losing that mentality, which to me is important.
Ryan, from your seat in with RWE, with the questions that you have as you go to shows, as you interact with more people, as the network, as you mentioned, kind of broadens, there's a lot of conversation where I'll talk to people and they'll be like, well, corporate consolidation is going to take over. Private practice is dead. I don't believe that personally, but what have you seen with inbound interest and conversations at shows? Any notes?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's dead, right? Like I would say like, if anything, right, I think they're looking at again the medical market, right? The human market and what kind of how that evolution of that industry happened, right? And comparing it to where we're at. So I think it's easy to say that. However, like, and then there was like a boom like a few years ago, right? Where there was a lot of corporate, buyouts, right? And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right? There's different situations, that would entitle that to be, good or however you want to perceive that. But, a money infusion is elevating the level of care, how the clinics look, the type of equipment they're buying. And I actually think there's kind of like, a revolution of private, right? Like, so like there was this kind of boom of people selling, but there's kind of also now we're at a cycle now where some of those folks that sold are now kind of, beyond their commitment to whomever bought them. And now are back into maybe creating their own private practice again, armed with maybe some more, better financial situation, right? So I think we're going to see, although we saw that kind of teeter-totter shift towards like a lot of corporate activity, I think it'll probably balance out with a lot of these folks getting back into the game if they weren't doing it for retirement, of starting their own practice and having more means and knowledge to do so. So, we'll see what happens. But I definitely hope it doesn't go all that way, right? Competition or whatever. Like there's great parts of everything, right? We have really good corporate partners that I think do it all for the right reasons. And then there's also, private practices who just like, there's a little bit of like helping them satisfy that American dream, or dream of owning their own practice. That's really important as well. So I'm excited to see how it goes, but I don't think private practice is dead by any means. I feel like there's going to be a lot of success from both sides.
Agreed. And I think my mind continues to shift on that the more conversations I have with both sides of the cohort of what's coming. I let all guests at the end of a show, ask lots of questions to you today, Ryan. Any questions you want to pose back to me? Anything that you want to understand better or ask me?
Yeah, I mean, just getting your background right. Like, I'm not a huge guy into like, obviously, you're a Bitcoin guy and all that kind of stuff. But like, the reason you and I connected was just kind of talking about some different, as more people focus on our industry, right? It brings along new services, different minds being creative to create different services and products, right? So, uh, you know, I'd like to hear kind of your thought process on like, I know you were working on something that was helping with kind of like locations for new practices and, looking at demographics and different reasons why somebody might want to build in a certain area. But how do you see that? How do you see the technology, the AI, all that stuff coming more focused on the animal health market?
Yeah. So we did, connect on this idea that is still being worked on and coming, and I'll have some episodes and some content around that probably in the future. But yeah, the idea being, whether you're a corporate entity or a startup or whatever, like taking data and taking insights of who do you want to serve, where is the need, and selecting that, it helps eliminate a lot of the risks that are there. And again, if you talk to a different, bank, like Bank of America or Provide or Wells Fargo or whoever you bank with, they will tell you already, right, that veterinary medicine does not default on their loans, but there's a difference between being very successful and getting by. And I think some of the ideas of leveraging technology is allowing the playing field to level out a little bit better. And for those that are more entrepreneurial and have desires and dreams to own a private practice, I think that technology growth and even just that idea of finding the right location to compete, you can make a bigger impact quicker and hopefully set yourself up where even if you make some mistakes, which you will, any business is going to make lots of mistakes, you can make sure that you're in the right spot to at least put as much, kind of luck on your side. And I view just, tools and technology to make things more efficient, eliminating errors that can be made. And, you don't have to rely on gut feel or this or that. And some of the AI stuff within the clinical side, I'm not going to try to act like I get all that and can see it the same way. But just from conversations and seeing some stuff at shows, like that's pretty impressive from a diagnosing perspective of just how quickly in the feedback loop of how much better that stuff is getting, where it's not replacing veterinarians, it's just amplifying the knowledge and skill set that's there. So I mean, I'm a broken record where I talk about, I think veterinary medicine will be in this golden age into the future, whether that's private or corporate. I just think there's lots of really, really good times ahead for veterinary medicine. All right, Ryan. So as we kind of wrap up, where can people connect with you? I know you and I connected on LinkedIn, so maybe that's a good option, but where do they go to learn more? Kind of give them all things RWE.
I would start at the website. One, because we invested in it, right? And so we hope people visit it. But it's a good source of information, right? Like as websites tend to be, rwedesignbuild.com. So it's a great place to kind of look at, different processes, projects. There's a way that you can connect with me there and set up a quick virtual meeting or a conversation, send an email. I'm also just Ryan at rwedesignbuild.com. So that's a great way too. LinkedIn, Ryan Whitley, RWE. All of it's great. Would love to have conversations with folks, general questions, projects, happy to share information and just network with folks and, like yourself and just kind of get to know some people and what's happening in the industry, right? Let's get smarter and better.
I love it. Thank you for the time today and really appreciate it. Look forward to chatting more down the road.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, so there are a lot of great job postings that I want to get to. And so we're going to start off with Bayside Hospital for Animals. Great work-life balance in beautiful Fort Walton Beach, Florida. No weekends, Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, no on-call or emergencies. It's an appointment only here. Currently a 2.5 doctor practice, new owner in 2021, bringing some fresh life into the hospital. The new owner had been there for 6 years prior working, so definitely understands the team, the processes, and the community. Lots of investment in people and new equipment. ProSal is the pay structure. Far too many benefits for me to list. Email BaysideVet251 at Yahoo or call 850-864-1857. Join a thriving, growing small animal practice in Vermont on the Quebec border. Full-time ideal, part-time is considered. The idea is to start with yes with the team, patients and clients, and outdoorsmen or outdoor woman's paradise while being able to practice high-quality medicine. Compensation is write your own structure within production capabilities. Literally, it is the owner wants to find the right person and is happy to negotiate, chat through, and find the right fit. If you want autonomy and a boss that enjoys teaching, reach out to Newport Veterinary Hospital. You can email newportveterinaryhospital@gmail.com. North Central Indiana, looking for an oasis in the chaos. You know, who isn't, right? Come join the amazing team at Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. They strive to foster a fun, fast-paced work environment while providing quality patient care. They utilize the support staff efficiently so that the doctor is available to practice medicine and do what you're trained to do in less time and paperwork, which is great. Lots of investment in new equipment and technology to support you, full-time or part-time available. Small animal and exotics are both seen there, so no ER, no on-call, no weekends, competitive salary with sign-on bonus offered, and far too many benefits to list. Go to Fulton County Veterinary Clinic. So type that in and you'll find the job posting there. Last but not least, join Watertown Animal Hospital. Personable small animal veterinarian wanted for well-established current 5-doctor mixed animal practice in northern New York, which is an outdoors person's paradise. Again, 2 of those. So if you like the outdoors, you can look at Vermont or New York. They have plenty of support staff with 6 CSRs, 6 licensed technicians, 4 animal caretakers, 2 technical assistants, a hospital assistant, a practice manager, and a bookkeeper. Focuses on mentorship and investment on the people and the technology. That's been a strategic initiative by the leadership team. No on-call, 24-hour ER less than an hour away. Salary based on experience, but no less than $95,000. Can be straight salary, pro-sal considered. Want to discuss that with the right person. Tons of benefits. Again, too much to list. Please reach out to watertownpetcare.com for that option as well. So again, if you find a role or a job or talk to anyone and it helps you in any way, I would love to hear that feedback. So please reach out. Let me know what you're able to do. And I will continue to post these. So if you are an owner, reach out to me, let me know. And we'll go from there. And until I hit a capacity of I can't keep recording these, I want to let people know who are high quality owners around the country looking for great help. So with that, we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to today's show. The comments made on today's show should not be taken as investment, tax, or legal advice. All comments are for educational purposes only. You should talk to your professional team before implementing anything. If you want or need financial advice, my day job and not podcasting is helping veterinarians grow their net worth. Our team is taking new clients, and we are ready to talk to you at any stage of life. Come as you are. I always say bring the mess, right? Like if things are unorganized, that's okay. There's no prerequisites to become a client. Isaiah Douglas is a partner at Vincier Wealth Management. Isaiah is a registered investment advisor, registered with the SEC. The biggest compliment you can give me in the podcast is to share it with a friend. Reviews help the show get found, and Apple Podcast is the platform that is predominantly used for people listening to the show. If you have 3 minutes, love the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, give us an honest rating and review. It helps more people find the show. Also, the new YouTube channel is up, and I'd love to have you subscribe. Vainly, I want 100 subscribers at least. Lots more, obviously, right? But I get a vanity URL if we get to 100. That would be great. It makes it easier to find the YouTube channel as well. For all of today's links, information, head over to the veterinariansuccesspodcast.com. There you can subscribe to your favorite podcasting platform. It'll be a link to that YouTube channel I just talked about. You won't miss any other episodes, whether you list on Spotify, whether you have some other ancillary podcast platform. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. It certainly does help. I appreciate it. Finally, if you want more information, insights, want your voice to be heard, want to share ideas for content, say, hey, Isaiah, I want you to have this guest. I want you to talk about this topic. Go over to the Facebook group. So you can search for the Veterinary Success Podcast on Facebook, or head over to veterinariansuccesspodcast.com, scroll to the bottom about your host, click on the Facebook icon, and that'll get you in the group. But thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me to be able to see the podcast grow and continue to impact people. So with that, until next time, we'll chat soon.